It's moved and seconded that we put 3,000 from Pilt into Brenda's fund for the purchase of a car. She had most of the money, this just finishes that up. And also to the senior center for $8,000.
Madam Chair, can we just double check the numbers on the stove and the fire suppression and also in the mail? I have two numbers here and I don't know if I scratched out one. So I just want to be sure that we have the right number in the minutes. Probably under items for signature.
And the 79,650.
That's a different subject.
That's the,
Do you want me to? That's actually, we do need the stove numbers, and I think that's 3855 and 377 on page 3.
you thought it was what? The casters are $377
Yeah,
and the range is $38.55.
okay, that would be for the stove then.
Mhm.
A total of $4,232 plus fire suppression
It's $43.12.
of $43.12. Which looks like it's the $85.44. So thank you very much.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded then that we put the money in those funds from Pilt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thanks. I do have the budget numbers from Debbie. These are the newly calculated valuations from Department of Revenue from when they decided last Monday to hit us with a ton of bricks. Our valuation still went up from last year by about $308,000. It was an increase of 2.4%. So difference of 1.5% from what was original.
It's not as bad as I thought.
No, we still went in the right direction. It looks like the difference is 1.4% for what when you have the value go up, it's like a seesaw. Value goes up, taxes go down. Value comes down, taxes go up. So value went up, that's because we had a little more business growth, and so taxes went down. They went down by an average of 10%, depending on, it was all the 5 different districts. So minus 1.4%, taxes went down by 8.5% on average. So it's still good news, it's just not as good a news.
And when did they transfer them over?
I believe Doug is still working on it. The school is pretty complicated. He had to go through and work out the formulas, so I don't know if they have yet. We'll have to check with them maybe this afternoon and see where he's at, but I know he's been working until about 9 o'clock every night on this.
Well, and it looks to me like then taxes won't have to be due until in December.
Right, yeah, which
Because
is,
we're past the first,
mhm, yeah,
because the public's allowed 30 days.
yeah.
Was there anybody else here to speak on Pilt? Were you here to speak about Pilt?
You know, I'm not quite sure what everyone submitted, so, anyway, I will. No. Because I'm not sure what the final letter is.
What we did at the PILT meeting last week is we just addressed the emergencies, and we'll have another working meeting to talk about some of the other projects.
Good.
Anything on Pilt? Anything on Pilt? Okay. We'll close that part of the meeting and we'll open up to community discussion. Yes?
I'd like to make sure that on the land in Toston is written up right in the files when you get it all done.
I agree. Because they obviously weren't done right to begin with, and that's the problem now.
4 or 5 times,
Mhm.
you know,
It ended up being a domino effect.
yeah.
Anybody else? Cheryl?
About a month ago, the maintenance man, when he was opening the bid amounts, then he addressed supplemental heating for the basement. And I said, no, wait, that's not on the agenda. You guys agreed, and he went on to something else. Last week, I sat there and went through the bills, and there was a bill there for the supplemental heating.
Okay.
State law says you can't vote on something if it's not been on the agenda.
Let me tell you, you look at your agenda and you go down there. County facilities maintenance upkeep is
It was
right
not
there.
discussed or voted on.
These things don't have to be discussed and voted on. That's general upkeep. I mean, are you gonna charge the road crew every time and have them come here every time they need a tire?
No, that's maintenance and replacement. This was new.
No, it wasn't. He replaced baseboards with a more efficient heat. It's a replacement. It's just like replacing a tire. There's no difference.
Mm-mm. None at all. Next question.
You have Pilt balance, what's left in Pilt for this year?
You know, I don't have it up here right now.
It was 800, a little over 800 when we started, and we just invested really, what, a little over 10,000?
13.
So, 85 plus 3, so yeah, about 11.5. Yeah, so we're still about 800, maybe slightly less, 795-ish, somewhere in there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions?
Didn't we take 100,000 off bill for insurance?
That was all done before.
Before we started.
It was a little over 900 when we started, and that's why I say we were at 800 when we had our meeting last week. And that's a guesstimate.
Other questions? We're adjourned.
Now, is there comments? Is this the time when you can talk?
Yeah.
That just was.
Oh, I thought it was only Pilt that you were discussing.
No.
Well, could I say something?
Yes, please do.
So I can get off this uncomfortable board here. I was interested in the investigator thing, because I did investigations for the district court for 17 years.
Oh,
And in Billings for the 13th. But I talked to the county attorney's office in Lewis and Clark County and in Silver Bow. And of course, those are bigger offices. But they don't have anybody doing per se investigations, because they depend on the investigations to be done by the sheriff's department, the arresting officers. And my question is, okay, you have an investigator and they go in and they look at the arresting officer's information. Then when this comes to court, I would assume, of course you should never assume, that the arresting officer would have to testify plus the investigator, because they're not going to allow hearsay. The investigations that I did were the only ones at that time that were not subject to the hearsay law. Also, if we've got this much sexual abuse going on in this county, how can we jack up the Department of Family Services? Because they should be involved, they should be doing investigations, and if you don't jack them up, they will sit on there and not do the work, okay?
and they do need to be jacked.
If
up
somebody
big time.
else will do it, and my daughter's a special ed teacher, and, you know, it's always trying, and of course I'm a social worker, trying to get them to help. We're paying taxes here, they should be giving us more support.
Yes, they should.
You know, it's hard working for two bosses. I work for 6 or 7 at once.
You must be a saint.
No, my favorite judge called me his personal battle axe, and I told him he was my personal battle axe. The judges were fine, they were good, but it causes conflicts because people think you should be doing this and that and the other thing. You know, everybody wants their stuff done, and it's hard. I would think that, you know, maybe another deputy sheriff would be the way to go, not just an investigator. Let the deputies do the investigations like they do in the other counties. There's gotta be a reason those other two counties do not have designated investigators. Someplace along the line, somebody found out, well, maybe this isn't the greatest idea. And I think a lot of it goes back to, okay, are you law enforcement? Can you run this stuff through St. John and everything, or what? And, you know, the county attorney sounds like she's killing herself. I don't know what's going on. It sounds like there's an awful lot going on. But that's my comment. I would hope that if you do decide to have two new positions, that there are job descriptions and that they are publicly advertised.
And they would be.
As you know, you cannot get criminal justice information unless you have a court order or you're a sworn law enforcement. So, ooh, what's that? Is that a phone? Anyhow,
Somebody's phone.
yeah, but that's all. And I think that things must have really, you know, grown, because as a licensed addiction counselor, the statistics used to be that if a person is arrested driving drunk, they've been driving drunk at least 10 times before.
Really?
And I don't know, she said hundreds of times, and I'm just kind of like, oh, wow, that's really, and Montana's way, way up there.
I think we're number 2
I thought we were
nationwide.
number 1.
Oh, maybe.
Alaska will hit you.
Alaska doesn't have any roads. You know, but, you know, I can see where there'd be a conflict and everything, and maybe, you know, maybe there's some money in the state, maybe you can hit DFS on this stuff. I don't know. Maybe the city ought to be contributing more.
They don't have any money either.
Well, tough.
And they do actually, we have an interlocal agreement with the city.
16,000 or something, right?
Well, for 18 for the county attorney, and then it's like 217 for law enforcement. So it's, they do pay a chunk, but, no, I think your Department of Family Services was really a great comment, so
Who
thank
does the
you.
juvenile probation here?
Is it Rowena?
There should be a juvenile probation officer.
I think it is really.
Yeah, I think it's Rowena Meehan.
That's a state, you know.
Street.
Yeah,
The only comment the deputies do when they're on a call, they're the investigating officer.
Right.
And then if it goes on,
That's right, that's why I was saying, then the investigator comes in and has to you know,
so,
and you've all played that game of what is it, gossip? It goes around in a circle and, you know, that's all. I just think we need more deputies.
Well, it just seems like we've got an awful lot of felonies for our
Yeah,
county.
where did they all come from?
Well, and like they say, some of them are just going through here. They're not
Yeah.
local residents.
And the last paper, there was 2 Broadwater County on the DUIs.
And how many outside of county is there?
I didn't count how many, but quite a few.
Really? It's sad because I worry that they're gonna run into a family and give a big heartbreak to somebody's.
They're funded by STEP program to go out there and catch these guys, the police. Why can't the STEP program, is there some sort of way that we can get something from them to help that somehow, you know, to get that, because that's where a lot of those DUIs come from too, is that these police officers are on their STEP program to get DUIs.
that's a good idea, that they should,
So, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
paying some of the court cases.
yeah. They're paying them to do that, why can't they continue on through to the other part of it too? Because that was the cause of it in the beginning. If they didn't have a STEP program, would they have been out there really doing?
Makes sense.
Just a thought that came up when I was.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a squeaky wheel thing. With protective services, you gotta squeak and scream, unfortunately.
I just think that there's way too much abuse, whether it be alcohol or sex on these little kids.
are we adjourned? I can turn off the camera. Okay, just wanted to be sure.
We've gotta vote.
Sorry, Ann.
I have a lot
You wasn't listening about being gone.
about what?